All right, guys, going to go ahead and wait for that audio to come through, and then we're going to get started right away. Welcome to anybody who has been waiting. Thank you guys so much. Welcome back to another live stream. All right, looks like the connection's really good. Awesome. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started right away here. I'm going to go over a few topics that we're going to actually go over during this live stream, and after that, we'll get started. Let me go ahead and pull my topics up. All right, so the first topic is actually creating a node network within geometry nodes. So let me just first start off by saying, I hope you guys are doing well, and thank you for tuning in. So I was originally going to download the newest version of Blender, but I was having some issues with it with my computer, so I'm going to sort that out later. But just so we don't waste any time on this live stream, I'm going to go ahead and start right away. So very first thing I'm going to do here to kind of show you a couple of ideas I've been working on with geometry nodes is I'm just going to add a single vertice. All right. Go ahead and go over to geometry nodes, click on new setup. Now this is going to be really cool. I'm going to kind of go over how this works. This can be kind of like two parts. So what we're going to be creating is basically what you see right here, right? The way that these nodes are like connected with a string. We're going to kind of recreate a similar idea in geometry nodes. And it's actually pretty simple to set up. Now this is something I was messing around with last night, and it's actually really interesting. So let me go ahead and show you how this is going to work. So the very first thing we need to do is we need to turn everything into points. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and do mesh to points. We should have 1 point because we only have one vertice, right? Now I want to make sure I instance on those points. All right, and we're going to instance a grid. And this is going to make sense because each grid is going to be like its own node. All right, so we're going to go ahead and plug our mesh into our instance, and we have our grid. Now, one thing I do want to do to this grid is I actually want to subdivide it a little bit. So I'm going to do subdivision surface here. I want the corners, we're going to give this a few more vertices. We'll give it like 5, 5. I want the corners to be kind of like rounded here a little bit. So I'm going to do 2 levels, kind of give it something like that. Let's go here. That looks not terrible. I do think it could look better. Let's try 3, 3. That looks okay. There we go. Okay, so now it has a more rounded appearance. Perfect. Now here's what's really cool. If I go into edit mode right now and I press E to extrude, you'll see that I have another node, which is awesome. And every time I extrude this vertice to create more vertices, it'll give me a node, right? And this is awesome. It's exactly what we want. Now we have to figure out how do we like connect these nodes via the line in between, right? So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and organize this a little bit here. All right, go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead and group these up here into a new frame. We'll just right click, join in new frame. Awesome. So that right there creates our nodes. And the next thing we need to do with our points is we actually need to convert them to a curve. Actually, sorry, these stay up here. We need to take our geometry and do mesh to curve. All right, and then I'm going to do a whole join geometry over here. Now we're going to rejoin these. So let's go ahead and rejoin these. Perfect. Okay, so we have our curves down here, right? Now you can see that they're showing up. We're actually going to need to do a curve to mesh. We need to convert it back to a mesh. We need to give it a profile. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and go to add curve, and then I'll look at my primitives here. I think I'm going to do a curve quadrilateral. Normally I would do a curve circle, but we're not going to do that in this case. So go ahead and set that up. Adjust the width a little bit. See how that looks. Just the height to like 0.001. Perfect. Now, right now it's overlapping. I don't want that, so I'm going to show you guys how to fix that. With our grid, we're actually going to take our grid instance and we're going to extrude it a little bit. We're going to go to extrude mesh, and we're just going to extrude it like 0.01, like barely anything. Now you can see if you look here, right, from underneath it doesn't look quite right. And that's okay. I'm fine with that. I'm going to keep it as is right now because from the top down, this is where we're going to be building our node network. So again, if I tab into edit mode here, right, and I grab a node, I can extrude and I can now connect that node, which is really cool, right? Now here's where it gets really fun. Right now, these are just straight lines. I actually want to resample this curve, and I want to make these lines kind of like curvy, right, which is really cool. All right, so we're going to go down here. This is where the curves are being created. I'll go ahead and click on join in new frame. So right here, the mesh is turned into a curve, and then later we turn it into a curve to mesh. But in the middle, I want to resample my curve, okay? I also want to set my handle type right here, and my Bezier. I want to set my type to Bezier, which is curve type? Set spline type, that's it. So we're going to go ahead and set the spline type to Bezier. We're going to resample the curve, okay? Hold on one second here. There we go. All right, so you can see like as we resample the curve, we get something a little bit different, right? Which is interesting. This is how you can start to get those curvy lines. So I'm just going to take a look at my nodes from before because I have a really good setup for this. Go ahead and save this one. So I've been working off my MacBook, and this is where I've been getting all of my ideas for new node networks. Oh, this one's cool. Wait till you see what we're going to do with this one too. All right, so we have set spline type. Yep. We have set handle type. This should go right here. And then we have resample curve. Perfect. Okay. So the order does matter. I knew it mattered. All right. So the order does matter a lot. So as you can see, we kind of have this really cool node setup. Now, what's awesome again is that when we go into edit mode, we can take any one of these, right? Go here. We can extrude, and now you can see that we have these like awesome like curvy setups, which is really cool. And if you ever wanted to like adjust the size of your grid, this can adjust the size of the nodes themselves. You can also increase this edge count here. So like if you want your nodes to look like this, you can, right? You can make them look thinner. And now we kind of have this like interactive like node network, which is really, really fun for me. I love this stuff. That's an interesting one. Obviously, you probably wouldn't ever set it up like that. Now you can see right here we're getting some kind of like weird banding. If you're ever having this issue, you can just raise your resample count. The more that you raise it, you can see that the higher the quality is. So I'll just set it to like 70. That looks pretty good. I'm going to save this as node network, okay, because that's what we're creating. All right. Also, to anyone who said hello, how are you? Good to see you. I understand with practice it's tough, but you have to stick to it. It amazes me how many people use them and what it produces at trial and error. Yeah, they're hi from Jamaica. Hi. I find nodes daunting. Yeah, it can be a little daunting. Now, really, there's not too much going on here. Again, if we like break this down, right? Oopsies. If we break this down, you can see that we're really all we're doing right here. We'll go ahead and label everything. For the description here, let's make sure that's working. Sorry, for not the description, the label. For the label here, we'll just say that we're creating nodes on each point. Okay, and then for this one, all we're doing here is we are connecting nodes with curves. Boom. That's how I like to do things in geometry nodes. I know that these are both responsible for separate things. We can also enable color so we know like what's doing what. Like this is blue, and I'll just make this one, I don't know, like orange, right? We know that this is creating nodes on each point. We know that this one is connecting the nodes, and then we're joining everything back together at the end here. So it's just like a nice little organized setup. But what's cool about this is now this is like completely modular. So if I wanted to, I could go into edit mode. Now, right there, I was on our top-down view. Let me just go ahead and move my camera a little bit. We were on the top-down view, but I can extrude this any way that I want, right? Like I can extrude it up in the air like this. So now this one's kind of like up in the air, right? I can extrude it down, right? I can create as many of these as I want. You could even do something really interesting where you take all of them, extrude them down, right? And now you have something interesting like this, right? You have this really interesting kind of like network of things. It's pretty cool. Now let me show you how we can take this like one step further here. Obviously, our grid points are each node, right? And they're instances. We can actually scale these instances. I'll do, where is it? Scale instances right here, okay? And I'm going to scale them by a random value. But I only want to scale them. I can scale them randomly all together, or I can scale them randomly like by an axis. But I'll just for now just do the random value plugged into the scale, and I'll just start it out at 0.3. So now you can see that any of these points can be from 0.3 all the way up to 1 in terms of like the scale, which is pretty cool. You don't have to do this. It's just another way to like add some interest, right? And this is looking really interesting. I love this. You could also apply like random colors and things like that, but I just love like expanding on these, right? Like, oh, this one expands this way and that way. I find it so interesting. So one of the other things that I was working on, we'll go to the next topic in a second here, but this was the first one, right, with geometry nodes is kind of like this node network built with nodes, which is pretty cool. Another thing you could do is you could potentially add text to each one of these, and then you could take that text and like modify it so you could create kind of like a brain map. If anyone's heard of Coggle, it's very similar to that. Thank you again, Mark Poppin Pringles Leaf. That is a very awesome name. Love that. So yeah, this is kind of like what I was working on yesterday. This was one of the concepts that I was playing with. Again, here's the nodes for you guys. Let me just go ahead and expand that, right? Pretty simple. Like for the most part, it's really just a matter of experimenting with the values. There's a lot of like really cool things that you can do with this. Now you don't have to use a grid. You could easily use a mesh circle instead. Okay. You would have to, I guess, fill the circle in. I don't know. Let me see. This is kind of like a cool vibe here, though. Like, this looks really interesting. Oh, another thing, if you really just want to make it simple, you use a cylinder, right? And you delete every single thing except for like the sides, right? Or sorry, you delete the sides. All you have to do here is you could just, I believe you can just make the depth 0.001, like really, really small. Or you can just give it a little bit of depth. Boom. Now you have this node network that's made of cylinders instead of grids or like a flat plane, which is pretty cool. I love this stuff. Now this obviously is like non-traditional. Like I'm just extruding every single point all at once. But it is cool. Like you could create like some abstract art. Like now I have all of these duplicated, right? Now I'm creating this like interesting network of things. Let me just try this. I like this, like when you extrude it downwards and you kind of get these like warped. Look at how like everything's all warped. It is so, so interesting. I love that. I think that looks really cool. Like boom, you got yourself a piece of like, I don't know, abstract furniture right there. I'm not sure what's going on with these, with the ones in the middle. Maybe they're looping back on themselves and they're kind of clipping a little bit. Either way, very cool. This is the node network that we just created within Blender. Again, nodes with nodes. Pretty cool. Can you rotate the cubes to facing you or only duplicate them above and below? What do you mean by facing you? Like facing the camera? Only duplicate them above and below? I'd have to look into what you mean by that, but that sounds, excuse me, sounds like a really interesting concept regardless. All right, so this was kind of the first example that I wanted to go over of like how can we experiment with nodes in like a new and creative way. I thought this was a really kind of fun way to do it. And again, like it's like modular, like I can do it's, you know what this almost reminds me of? It almost reminds me of like the pen tool, like in Illustrator, right? Like I'm kind of creating these like networks of things. Move this one a little bit. So fun. I'm kind of just creating this like little tree right here. Again, just like a little like node network. It almost looks like a stone path now. Either way, pretty darn cool. All right, guys, I'm going to let you drop comments on that real quick if you want to. All right. 31 people watching. Circles now. Yes, facing the camera. Yeah, if you wanted them to face the camera, that would be a whole other complex thing. I'm not exactly sure how you would do that, if I'm being totally honest with you. Is it possible? Probably, because there's a node in the shader editor that allows you to have something facing the camera, specifically like textures and things like that. So is it possible? Probably. Yeah, I would say it probably is possible. All right. Guys, sorry, give me 1 second here. Okay. All right, we're going to move on to the next thing, guys. And that next thing is going to be, what do we got? Oh, displacement. Oh, this is going to probably be my favorite part of the whole thing. All right, let's start a completely new document so that I can explain to you what I mean by displacement. I'm just going to add a cube in here just to kind of keep things simple. Go over to geometry nodes, open up a new node here. Awesome. All right, now what we're going to do is with this new setup, I'm going to teach you how the displacement works first, and then how it works with images, and then how we can use like a topographical map to actually create like real displacement. And this is going to be really interesting. I'm really excited to show you how this works. All right, here we go. Very first thing, I'm going to add a plane, or sorry, not a plane, a grid, which is basically the same thing as a plane. I'm going to go ahead and pop that grid in here. Okay. Now, important thing to note about the grid. I'm going to go to wireframe view here. The grid is determined by like the amount of vertices on both sides, okay? Like the actual resolution is what we're going to be using here. The more vertices you have, the higher the resolution, the more detailed your displacement is going to be. So right now I can adjust the size and things like that, which is great. But right now, the grid is just a grid, right? There's really not much to it. So I'm going to add a set position node, and you guys probably kind of know where I'm going with this. The set position node basically, well, it sets the position of this thing, but it also sets the position of everything else. Like right now, if I adjust the offset, I can basically change where this thing is. It's almost like the transform geometry node, right? It's very similar to that. However, in this case, I am going to actually set the position, but with the displacement. So I'm going to show you like what this would look like if I plugged in a noise texture into our offset. So you can see right here, our noise texture is affecting our grid, but it's affecting it in all of the axes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a combine XYZ node, and I'm only going to affect the Z right here. Perfect. So notice how I'm only affecting the Z, and the more vertices I add, I'll just add 30 on both. The more vertices I add, the heavier like the displacement becomes. I can also add a vector scale. Scale, where is it? There you go. Vector scale right here. And I can adjust the amount right here so that it's not too intense. I'm going to give this a quick save. I'm going to call this displacement because we're going to be doing some heavy stuff in here. Displace. There we go. All right, we're going to do displacement. Perfect. Now, right here, we can adjust the scale of the noise texture, which is pretty cool. And this is like, just this in itself is something that I feel like people don't do a lot. And can you rewatch this later? Absolutely. All right. I have to check for you. I'll get back to you soon. All right, so right here, again, we're only using the Z-axis. Now, this is really fun, right, that we can do this. And we can use any texture we want. Right now, we're using a noise texture. If we want to smooth things out, we can go ahead and do a subdivision surface here. And you can see we can smooth everything out. We can shade smooth. And we have this really nice smooth surface that we're working with. Now, this is kind of like the core concept, right? We have a grid. We're setting its position with a scaled noise texture, but only on the Z-axis. This is like the core of what we're about to get into. We can adjust the scale, which is really cool. Again, it doesn't have to be a noise texture. It can be a wave texture like that, right? We can use a wave texture. We can adjust it from bands to rings. That's pretty cool. So if you wanted to get like this really cool, like, I don't know, like effect of like maybe like a sound wave or something like that, like you could probably do that, right? And also don't forget, you can adjust your size of your grid. So if you want it to be like even more intense, you can do something like this. And if you really want to, I believe, well, let's see what spherical does. I haven't tried this one yet. How cool is that you can like actually get real displacement in geometry nodes? Not a lot of people talk about this. You are going to get some weird like artifacts depending on the amount of vertices. Right now we're at 30 by 30. If we did 100 by 100, you can see how much smoother that is, right? But the more vertices you add, the slower it's going to become. So just be really careful. Legends claim the Dorito stream is still ongoing. Oh my gosh. What's up, Omar? How are you today? Greetings from Hamburg. Oh my gosh, Hamburg. Is that where they invented the hamburger? Very cool. I'm sure you haven't heard that one before, right? All right, so very cool. All right, so we have our everything set up. Now, let me show you what happens if we add an image texture, because this is really where, in my opinion, this is where things get very fun. Let's add an image texture. All right, let's go ahead and just find an image texture. I think I probably have quite a few of my downloads. Let's see what we got. I'm kind of looking for something that has like heavy contrast to it so that I can really show you like what is happening here. Oh, let's use this. Perfect. We'll use Blender. This is a Blender image texture. Now I'm going to get rid of the wave texture, and instead I am going to plug in my image texture into the Z. I'm also going to add a color ramp right here so we can kind of like adjust the contrast of it. Perfect. Now you can see it's like a little bit distorted here. We can also adjust that as well with like scaling and things like that. But how cool is that? We can use an image texture and we can basically imprint a logo on something. Let me show you how else it would work with like something a little bit different here. Let's see what else we have. Oh, we have a fingerprint. That's pretty cool. That could look interesting. A lot of these you're going to need like heavy detail for. Let's try this. Ooh, interesting. Again, you can use textures, pretty much anything that you want to within reason. And you can adjust this via our color ramp. That's one way you can adjust the intensity of it. And then another way is to adjust the scaling right here, right? And then, of course, the grid density. Now, ultimately, what I'm going to get at here, and this is going to be like the bulk of this, is we're going to actually import our own topographical maps, and we're going to see what that would look like in Blender. And it's going to look pretty cool. Let me just see a few more of these. So interesting. I love looking at this stuff. It's pretty subtle. I mean, you can bump this up to 300 by 300, and you can get some pretty intense stuff. Like, let's say you wanted to, like, fake a texture. This is probably how you would do it, right? Now, here's where things get really interesting. Let me show you one more thing before we get into our topographical maps. This is pretty intense, right? There's a lot going on here. Look at this in wireframe mode, right? There is a lot of geometry to deal with here. So how can we simplify this a little bit? Now we have our subdiv surface, which is great. But right before that, I'm going to add a merge by distance. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow us to merge vertices close together so we can simplify our mesh. So I'm going to start with 0.1, and that's way too much. And I'm going to just kind of slowly lower this. I'm going to do 0.01. Try 0.005. Sorry, 0.05. There we go. So now you can see same thing, but even simpler. And the lower, usually the lower this number, the simpler it is when it's merging. But you can get weird artifacts, so just be super careful with this. I'm going to delete it for now because I want to show you some more cool textures. But if you wanted to do that, you could simplify your maps. And we will be importing maps into here to kind of see what we get. Let's see. I want to see what more of these kind of textures look like because ultimately people are going to want to recreate these. That's kind of interesting. You're going to get some really shaky areas. But again, to kind of eliminate that, you can lower your scale a little bit. And you kind of still get a very similar type of texture there. All right, we're going to get a topographical map in just a minute. I just want to mess around with a few more of these. Oh, let's look at the circuit board one. Oh, that's cool. So here's our circuit board one right here. And right now we're doing 200 vertices. Let's do 400 and 400. That's cool. So here's why. So this is where I like to stress that like there's just so much you can do with Blender. So this is just an image, right? You could go and take an image of a circuit board yourself and look at this kind of like displacement we're getting. Now we do get some high areas here, and I'll show you how we can combat those. A lot of the times it's as simple as adjusting your color ramp here. Let's try a lighter color here. Hold on. Let me see. Typically you can adjust it right here. Could crunch these down. So we could use a delete geometry node and delete everything that's above a certain level. I can show you how to do that. But how cool is it that we can get this amazing kind of like textured surface? Let's bump it up even more because I'm just curious now. 500 by 500. Oh my gosh. Look at that level of detail that you get. Now you are going to get some weird ones with these little like spikes, but the level of detail that you can get for like a circuit board, you can kind of get this like micro displacement is so interesting to me. And this is just from a circuit board. This is really like, I mean, there's so much you can do with this. And really like, again, the node setup is so simple. Let me just show you one more time. Oh, and it is subdivided. So I wonder if that's affecting anything. Nope, not too much. Wow. Wow. Yeah, there is endless possibilities. Let me just show you this one more time. These are the nodes right here. Again, really simple. We have an image texture fed into a color ramp, fed into a combine XYZ. And this scale is really just how to adjust everything into a set position that's driven by a grid. And then you just smooth it out with a subdiv surface. That's really all it is. And it's really that simple. I do want to see real quick. I want to get rid of some of these spikes. A lot of the time, again, like raising that resolution, I'm scared to do this, but let's try it. We're going to do 800 by 800. Oh, wow. Incredibly detailed. Incredibly detailed. But you might not really need it that detailed. Like odds are you're probably looking at it from over here, right, from this distance. Look how detailed that gets. Now look, we do have these spikes, so let me show you. I'm going to show you how we get rid of those spikes. I'm going to drop it back down to 300. So here's how we get rid of those spikes. This is kind of like a little pro tip I learned over the years. Well, really over the past year because I haven't really been doing geometry nodes that long. All right. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to use a delete delete geometry node. Okay, we're gonna use a delete geometry node right here. It's gonna delete everything. Oh no, we need to add a selection, and we need to say, hey Blender, everything before or after this specific space, please delete this. All right, and I'm gonna actually pull that up because I don't remember exactly how to do it. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Yep. Okay, so we'll take the position of really everything. We'll take the position. We'll separate the X, Y, Z. All right, and in this case, we only care about Z, and we just want to use a compare node here. Just bring this over here. We want to use a compare node right here, and we want to say, is it greater than a certain distance? If it is, delete it. For now, we'll just do 0.1. All right. Now you can see that's not quite low enough, so we'll do 0.05. And there we go. Now you can see things are starting to get deleted. So I'm going to go ahead and just lower this a little bit more. Perfect. Now we're knocking down some of those higher edges. But you can see we get these like artifacts right here. That I haven't gotten around yet, but I'm sure there's a way. Here we go. All right, perfect. But again, that is how kind of like the rough idea is that you're deleting things that are above a certain point. Wow, just look at that like level of detail just from an image, Let's try some other images, and then eventually we will actually do what I promised, which was to get to our topographical map. So this image that I just put on here is going to get a little messed up. Let me get rid of this for a second. There we go. So this is an interesting one. This is like a texture of like a cracked surface. So let me just knock this down a little bit. Yeah, you can kind of see the cracked surface a little bit. Again, like I can't express to you how many things you can do with this. Like you can take this, you can take this, and you can take it and wrap it around an object, and you can have this kind of like texture that is just unachievable anywhere else. Can you show us a wire node so the mesh looks like a wire mode in the viewport? Oh yeah, that's easy. I can definitely show you that. Yep. Color ramp will definitely be like the area to go to. All right, real quick though, guys. Let me type in topographical map. All right, we're gonna grab an image from online. We're gonna find a color-coded one so I can kind of show you like how this works. Perfect. That's it. All right, so I'm just gonna save this one. This is like a generated by something, but basically you would take something like this. This is a cool one too. All right, so you take something like that and you just basically you pop that in to your network here. And look at that. Let me just adjust this a little bit. Now, the reason it's repeating is because of the repeat. Let me see what happens if we do extend. Clip. All right, we'll just clip it for now. Now, there's workarounds for that too. You can delete everything outside of this area. But how cool is that? We used a topographical map. Now, assuming there was no watermark, it would look a lot better. But look at that. We have this topographical map that we turned into a 3D landscape just like that. Now that is really cool. Let's try another one. There's so much you can do with this. This is a cool one here. Whoa. Look at this one. Should we try it? See what happens? This one's wild. I don't know. I don't know what this is going to end up looking like. This might look really interesting. It might look really bad. But we don't know until we try, right? I need to clear out some of my downloads here. Oof. All right, so the reason it looks so weird is probably because our vertice count isn't high enough. Let's try 700. It looks a little bit better. You can see from the top-down view, it looks pretty good, right? We can kind of see how good that looks. But then from this view, it doesn't look as good. So let's adjust our scale. A little bit better. Again, just like the level of detail that you can get. And you could use merge by distance here to kind of achieve something greater. But I mean, there's just, I can't even like begin to tell you the amount of possibilities that this could unlock. It's incredible. I do think this would work for a fingerprint as well. There's just, again, it doesn't have to be a topographical map. I'm just showing you guys like examples of something that I would do. It would probably work for like, just like whatever this is, it would work for that. Let me just find another cool one that we can look at. Yeah, let's go ahead. And I promise I will get back to that wireframe thing you asked for because that's super easy to figure out. Let me see. Yeah, like this. Here we go. Actually, hold on. Let's do this one. I want to try this image here. I know I have just like so many downloads. All right, here we go. Oh, pretty cool. Ooh, you know what? I want to try the aluminum extrusion on that. Just curious what that would do. Oh, that's cool. See, now this gives me like idea for like, oh, could I give it a profile of something and then psh, just like expand it like basically like an aluminum extrusion would do, right? Scroll through a few more of these and see. Excuse me. A little stuffy today, guys. Not sure what it is. Well, it's the Slack logo. Like again, you can just I mean there's the Sprite logo. Let's see what this wave pattern would do. There's a good one. Let's try this one. Oh, that's weird. Didn't do much. Let's go back down to where that area was. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Oh, this cracked texture. Whoa. That's cool. You'd probably have to do the reverse. Yeah, you'd want to like look at this side. We're upside down, but that's okay. How interesting is that? And I probably like for this one, I would do like a really subtle like version of that. Like we probably do like 0.1. But you kind of get this like really interesting look and vibe. I kind of want to like actually apply one of these and like add some texturing and like lighting to kind of see what that would look like. I'm having too much fun just like popping images in there. I hope you guys are enjoying this, but I just like I could do this all day. I mean, this stuff is so interesting to me. Just because it's so simple and like it's like a versatile tool, right? Like I would probably make this into an add-on. The only problem is Blender doesn't support like an image texture input for the user end on the modifier. Otherwise, I would make this into an add-on. Oh my gosh, I really do, guys. I need to go through my downloads, but there's just like so much in here that it's so much fun. I don't know. Oh, there's some old client. There's some old client work in here too. Oh, here's a fingerprint. Let's try this. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That is pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome right there. Wow. That's so nice. Let's see if we can get like a super high resolution. Let's do high resolution. Ooh, topographical map. No, I want to do high resolution. See, like that's not like crazy high resolution. I kind of want to try this one too. Hold on, I want to do high resolution fingerprint. Let's do this one. No, that's pretty good. There we go. That one'll work. All right, we're gonna try both of those. I'm just want to see. Yeah, want to see what happens. And this is the beauty of it is now that we have all the nodes set up, the hard part is done. Now we get to kind of explore, right? Wow, look at that, look at that. And again, black and white usually works better. That's a little too much with a displacement, but like if you had, I mean, I could raise this. I don't want to like break my computer here, but at the end of the day, if it can handle it, let's just see. I mean, if it can handle that, look at that. Oh, wow. It is beautiful. Beautiful. And it can get even better if you like keep raising that value. All right, let's try the fingerprint, and then I promise you I will show you your wireframe thing you were asking for. Now it's getting scaled and squished, but we can always like adjust that. Wow. Again, like just I don't know, guys. So many possibilities. How about a real footprint of early humans anthropologists have discovered in the savannah? Ooh. Omar. Omar. Let's see. All right, so footprints. What did you say? Early humans. Oh, here we go. Early human footprints. And then we'll do let's see. Wow, there's a lot of them on here. There's one right there. We might have to convert one to like black and white. I feel like this first one wasn't terrible. That like could work. Let's try it and let's see what happens. Blender likes to Blender loves black and white when it comes to this stuff, especially because I'm using that like color ramp there. Whoa, hold on, let's, so I see the footprint here. Let me just scale this up a little bit. There it is. I think, is that it? Yeah, it's getting scaled and like warped a little bit, but it is right there. The guy left the footprint 50,000 years ago, never thought his footprint would be on a computer. Little did he know I would be using like micro displacement technologies on his footprint. Haha. All right, how do you make it cover the whole of the plane rather than one small section? You could, I don't know because there's no like texture coordinate available for this, but I guess you could like scale it. I don't know, let me see. Let me see if I can do this. Oh. May have just messed everything up. I think right here you could technically use a vector and then decide which part of this you want to scale. But I'm pretty sure. See something here. Let me think about why it wouldn't be doing this. Because it's placing what it's doing is it's placing the image off center on purpose, like 0, 0, 0. But the grid itself is not 0, 0, 0. So I guess what I could do is I could do a transform geometry right here, and I could just translate this 1 in the x and 1 in the y, and then I could just make this 1 by 1. That didn't do what I wanted it to do. I don't want it to extend beyond that. Hold on. This is the repeat clip. So I really only want this section. So really, 0.5, 0.5, 1, and 1. There we go. All right, that's kind of how you would do it, but again, you would need a perfectly square image. If you wanted it to match the image size, I'm not sure. We'd have to experiment with that. All right, now we're going to move on to something new because I promised this person a while back that I would show them how to... Let's see. How do you use a wire node so the mesh looks like a wire mode in viewport? Yep. So all you have to do, I'll just add the monkey for this one because this is the easiest to explain with the monkey. Go ahead and click on New Geometry Node Setup. So we're completely from scratch here. And really all you need to do is mesh to curve. Okay? That'll convert it to a wireframe. And already you have what you're looking for. But if you want to like exaggerate that, you can do a curve to mesh. So we're going to convert it back into a mesh. But we need a profile. So I'll just use a curved circle. Go ahead and plug that in like that. Reduce our radius here. We just do like, I don't know. We'll just do 0.01. Perfect. And now you have a wireframe mode in Blender. And that's it. That's really all it is. These nodes right here give you a wireframe in geometry nodes. Pretty simple, right? For the most part. What do you guys think? Pretty cool? Pretty easy? Easiest tutorial of the day right there. Yeah, so in geometry nodes, all you have to do, everything's like a formula, right? Like you have to figure out what does what. Like, and really what you could do here is you could group these, right? And you could just rename this, right? And I would just call this wireframe. And anything that I apply this to and input into this turns into a wireframe. For example, if I go here, I do a join geometry, and I add a cube, it should also get applied. And there it is. Now, in this instance, the cube, here, let me just scale the cube up. You can see that I have my cube, and it also gave it the wireframe because it ran it through the, it's basically like a filter almost. Like it runs it through the filter of like what will create that wireframe. So it's pretty interesting. Let's see. If he did, wizards are real. Yeah, I hope that answered your question. Any additional questions there? How long did it take you to get the hang of Blender? Oh man. Well, let's see, this is like my 4th year on Blender, maybe 4th or 5th year. So that long. No, really, I probably started getting like the hang of Blender after about a month or 2 when I first started. But the very first thing I did in Blender, I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to show you guys the first thing I did in Blender if I can do this. There we go. Okay, this is the first thing I did in Blender. You ready? This is going to blow your mind. Okay, so I took a cube, right? I took a plane. I just basically gave them both rigid bodies. This is the very first thing I did in Blender. That's it. That's literally all I was trying to do. When I first opened up Blender ever, I was like, oh, you can do physics. This is really cool. This is like the first thing I learned. That was it. This is where it all began, ladies and gentlemen. Let me go ahead and set this up here so you can see. This is where it all began. A cube falling on a plane. Fast forward, and I am living the dream, the Blender dream. I do enjoy what I do though. So if you're ever curious, I love it. I really do. I do wish I could do this stuff more often, but I do have a kid, and that has been a recent adjustment for me. So like trying to make sure I fit in these like weekly live streams is super important to me, because it really is a good outlet for me. But this is where it all began right here. This cube falling on a plane, me discovering physics. I mean, this was like an aha moment. Even though everyone knows how to do this, most people do. When this happened, I was genuinely like, whoa, you could do that? And wait, I was like, wait, this is a free program? I was like, wait a second, what else can I do? And then I learned about rendered view, and then I learned about shading, and then everything after that was just like, I learned so much so fast that I couldn't put Blender down. I really couldn't. Oh, that would be a good clip. Also, hello, Superhive Market. Hello, how are you? Who's running the chat on that one today? I'm so glad you tuned in. That's fantastic. Oh yeah, this would be a good opportunity to shout out real quick. I'll start out with my favorite, which of course is the core fundamentals of Blender. So real quick, because I'm involved with this, so are a bunch of amazing creators. This is the core fundamentals of Blender by CG Cookie. Okay, if you already have a CG Cookie account and you're paying for that subscription, you should have access to this. This allows you to unlock the core of Blender, elevate your craft, and ultimately learn from some of the best instructors ever. All right, so let's go through a few of those instructors and what they teach. We have Jonathan Lampel with mesh modeling. Fantastic. So many amazing like tips and tricks to learn from this guy. He's just absolute master at what he does. We have Kent Trammell with digital sculpting. Also an amazing guy who I personally know, and he is just a fantastic instructor. You're not going to find much better instruction than what Kent has to offer. And digital sculpting is a fun one too. And a lot of people aren't using enough of it. It is very versatile. We have lighting with Jesse Kaizen, and he is a YouTuber as well. You've probably subscribed to him on YouTube. He has some great tutorials out there, and he covers lighting, which is one of the fundamentals of Blender, right? Very important. Now we have Iwa, who actually did not one, but two amazing courses with materials and shading and texturing. So she covers pretty much everything you need to know about how to make an object look the way that it does. Oh, animation with Phil. I mean, it doesn't get much more fundamental than that, right? Animation, that is the core of Blender. Absolutely check this one out. Rigging with Wayne Dixon. Yeah, a lot of people were actually asking about this for today's live stream. I'm not an expert on that, but if you really want to learn about that, learn from the master. This is your guy right here, Rigging with Wayne Dixon. I can't speak highly enough about him. Oh, this guy's really great. I don't know if you heard of this guy, Kenny Phases. Just so many great things to say about him. So I cover physics in this course, and a lot of the stuff that I originally taught myself in Blender, I took all of that knowledge, combined it into this for the core fundamentals. This is where you'll find it right here. I cover some amazing things. I'll go into depth about that in a minute. Sean Kennedy with compositing. Again, at the end of the day, you have to make your renders look good. Compositing is how you do it. So definitely check those out. Now let's hop real quick into the physics, because I want to talk to you about my specific part of this. Now you can purchase these individually too, I believe on Superhive, if I'm correct, Amber. And that is where you're allowed, like if you don't want every single one, you just want to focus on one core area, you can do that, I believe. And yeah, so what I cover is rigid body physics, right? That's kind of the very first thing that I even learned. You can see we have some amazing rigid body constraints here with these springs. So much fun to mess around with this stuff. Soft body physics, again, another core staple of the physics area. Cloth physics, can't go wrong. They're just so much fun. And look at that. Look at that beautiful render right there. All of this stuff we go through. Fluid, smoke, fire. Again, these are all huge topics, but we go over them in the same unit. Particle physics, so much you can do there as well, especially with these like aerodynamic simulations. I go over dynamic paint, which is extremely versatile. There's like 6, maybe 7 or 8 ways that I can think of off the top of my head that you can use this for, and water being one of the big ones. We go over force fields and how to utilize them properly. And then we also have a lot of tricks, tips, and troubleshooting, because you are going to run into issues with your physics simulation. So this is the place to learn about that towards the end of our course. So yeah, all this stuff I couldn't speak highly enough about. And I also do want to shout out a couple more things real quick, and then I promise we'll get back to our content here. There's a courses on here called Sessions. Specifically this one with Kent Trammell. He has a macro session where you get to learn about some incredible macro renders, right? Specifically where you have this camera shot up close. Super, super important here to learn about this stuff, getting that proper depth of field. One of my favorite ones that he goes over is this one right here. Talk about micro displacement earlier. What we were doing is more of just like general displacement geometry nodes. What he goes over though in chapter 4 with the yin and yang pencils, it's just like I've never seen such a level of detail in Blender. Like not just visually, but like how much he goes over. This is like I could probably watch this specific chapter over and over again. It's just incredible what he goes over. And he talks about, where is it? Micro polygon displacement. That's how he achieves these amazing details. And like once you see that, like it's going to open up a whole new avenue for you in Blender. Look at how good these pencils look. The shading, the lighting, the texturing, everything just comes together in a beautiful, beautiful render. Nice symmetry there too, and the little color palettes that he's using. This one's fun too. Piano, right? You got the laptop render, and then another one of my favorites is the dew droplet. I really like this dice or die render. Just, I mean, it literally looks like a real video. He's a master at what he does. So definitely check that out. Definitely check that out. There's one more I want to shout out, and then we'll get back. I promise. One more, and that is the geometry node. I think it's geometry nodes city. Let me see. Oh, here it is. Yep, B city. So this one is just, I mean, this is incredible. A lot of the stuff that you'll learn about geometry nodes happens here, right? Foundations, roads, lane markings. I mean, there's just, and the organization in this course right here is incredible. Instancing, way better than I can explain it myself. Creating procedural buildings. This is just like, I mean, I don't know, just an amazing thing that they created here with B City. This is fantastic. Would highly recommend. Okay. Thank you guys. Now, back to physics and geometry nodes. Let me check up on your comments real quick. Let's see. How long did it take to get the hang of Blender? Yep. Just started the CG Cookie Basics. Oh, that's fantastic. I hope you're enjoying it. Oh, hi, Amber. Hi. Let's see. So, hello, brother. Good to see you. This is a great community. Yeah, that's the other thing is like, you're not just getting the course itself, but you're getting access to like talk to the instructor, you know, check in with them, see how you're doing. You're going to have like projects that you complete at the end of each specific course or unit, and that'll help you test your knowledge, which is fantastic. Kenny, I hear that Kenny character is great. He's a great guy. I've only heard good things about him. I don't know. Do you think the information will be 4.5? Yep. Yep. Okay. Thank you for answering that, Amber. It is finally here. I should do something with Kenny from South Park. Oh my gosh. Oh boy. Wow, a lot of great comments here. Thank you. I appreciate all these kind words. I really do. We try to like create the best content that we can, and I think a lot of the time it really is just about the community and what people are looking for. We really do listen. That's why I've been trying to post more polls on CG Cookie to see what you guys really want to learn about. I think a lot of people are just so interested in geometry nodes because there's so much that you can do with geometry nodes, and I think a lot of people are a little bit like intimidated by how they work. I definitely, when I first started and I was learning about geometry, well, sorry, let me back up. When I was about halfway through my Blender journey and geometry nodes came out, everyone was on top of it right away, and I was like, I'm going to give it some time, and maybe I'll eventually like warm up to it. And it was a pretty cold start for me. Like when I first started, I think maybe I watched a Ducky 3D tutorial, but at the end of the day, I was mortified to hop into geometry nodes. All right. So what I really ultimately wanted to originally do, the point of this live stream was going to be to take a Google Maps like satellite image and kind of create like a city around that. There are some add-ons that do this, but I thought it would be cool to do a version of our own where we're using an image and we kind of like, you know, use that displacement, and we can analyze where the curvature of the roads are, things like that. But for now, we'll probably come back to that another time because I think we went over so much displacement. I'm going to answer this last question here, and then we're going to move on to the next topic, which is, what is it? The coin generator. We're going to make a procedural coin generator in geometry nodes. This one will be fun. It's hard to go much before 2.38. Yep. The thing about, well, geometry nodes is always ever expanding, but a lot of the core physics stuff that we teach is like, it hasn't changed much. Like, I don't think they've really added too much to it. Yeah. Please tell me NIA editor. Okay. All right, so we're going to make a procedural coin generator. Let's do it. I think, like, you got to start with a cylinder, right? Because at the end of the day, a coin is a cylinder. I'm going to give this quite a few vertices here, about 100. All right. We're going to adjust the depth a little bit too. So there's a lot of different steps I'm going to take here. This is going to be really cool, though. I think you guys are going to find this one really interesting because we're going to be making this procedural and completely customizable for our users. Let's just say you were developing this like as a product. I'll show you how I would go about this. So let me just go ahead and save this real quick so we have a nice saved copy here. Coin gen. All right, so we have our cylinder, right? Now, when we talk about group input, right, and this is for my new people in geometry nodes, please pay attention to this because this is me talking about, like, how do we not be afraid of geometry nodes? Because I don't want you guys to be afraid. I want you to utilize geometry nodes because it's so incredibly powerful. One of the biggest things I want to be able to adjust here is my depth of my coin, right? As soon as I plug an empty slot into that depth, you can see that my users can access it over here on the right in our modifiers panel. So they can now adjust the depth of the coin. And this is super, super powerful, right? So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you guys how to, we're going to do like the ridge of the coin. We're going to do a texture around the edge of the coin. And then we're also going to do, because now that I know we can, we're probably going to add some text on top of that coin as well. We're going to keep it relatively simple, but I still think this is going to be really interesting. I actually think you guys are really going to enjoy this. So we have our cylinder, which is great. Another thing we're going to want is we're going to want a ridge around the cylinder itself. So how can we achieve that? Well, my thought process is let's go ahead and cut a cylinder off the top and the bottom. And there's a few ways we can do this. We could use a boolean. We could also take the top of this and we could actually like extrude it in. Well, we could scale it inwards and then extrude it down. There's a lot of different ways that we could go about doing this. Before we do that, though, I think I'll do. I think I'll convert this into a curve. Sorry, mesh to curve. Okay, perfect. And then I'm going to actually go ahead and I'm going to scale this as well. Scale elements. And I'm going to scale it down. I'm going to scale it up a little bit. Yep, perfect. And I'm going to join everything back together here like this. So basically what we just did is we took our mesh, we scaled it up, and then we converted it to curves. But I also want to scale it on the on a specific axis. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to create another cylinder. We're going to use this one instead. We're going to use the same, we're going to use a slightly different depth here, but the same radius. So I'm going to plug this into both radius values so that they're always the same. So look, if I adjust the radius, you can see how they scale together. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock down the depth to like 0.01. Really, really small, okay? And I'll explain to you why I'm doing this as well. We have our scaled elements. I'm going to do merge. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do 0. Boom. Mesh to curve. And then I'm going to do curve to points. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Now, right here, we can adjust the amount of points, right? Now, we can also adjust it here as well. So these points, what we're going to do with these is we're going to add small ridges on the outside of our coin. This is going to be really cool. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it, like what this looks like. So in order to do this, let me just go ahead and adjust all this. This is going to be in a new frame. Also, I apologize for my nasaliness. There's not much I can do about it, so we're just going to continue. What we're going to do is we're going to call this edge ridges. Okay? And then up here, this is going to be the main coin. Oops. Cool. Trying to stay as organized as possible.
Perfect. All right, so we have our edge ridges. Now, right here, we want to instance on these points because I want there to be a ridge every single time there's a point, and we can adjust these too, which is really cool. So we have that, and we'll do a cylinder. Okay, now right now the cylinder is going to be huge, so let's adjust the radius and the depth. Now the depth itself, we can connect that to our depth so that the depth always stays the same. Now the radius, this is where we get to decide, okay, how much do we really want to scale this out, right? Because now we're starting to have something here. Now our radius itself, we can adjust that as well. Now here's where it gets fun, right? Because now we can add these ridges, right? Like this. We can also decide how many vertices do we really want on these, right? Something like that looks okay. And now we have something that looks decent, right? And we can pull these in as much as we want. Look at that. Now we have an edge, right? Like a ridged edge to our coin. So let's back up real quick so I can explain what we did. Yep. Does he get to work online after learning? Sorry, I'm looking at the comments here. Okay, so we have our main coin, which is just a cylinder so far. And then we're just using an edge, like a edge loop or like a basically the cylinder but collapsed down. And we're instancing on those points to get this edge, which is really, really fun here. And then look, what's cool is we can actually adjust kind of like the profile. Like if we want that to be like really sharp, we can do that. Really, we're just adding vertices. If we want them to be really smooth, we can also do that as well. That's so awesome. Okay, now for our cylinder. All right, for our cylinder, we're going to do a quick experiment because I want to see if this is possible first. So I'm just going to add a cube in here. New geometry nodes. I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to go ahead and add a cylinder. I just want to see if this is possible, and if it is, we'll go from here. Extrude mesh. Okay. Extrude mesh. Or no, I'm sorry. Scale elements. There we go. I want to scale elements, but I want to specifically scale the top in. Only the top face, I want to scale it in. Oh, actually, you know what? Let me think. Top face, extrude it down. I'm sorry, I'm thinking this through real quick. Top face, yep, uniform. Let me just see what happens if I do this. Whoa. I actually did not realize you could do that. That is really, really cool. We're going to do it a slightly different way. We're going to go back to this. We're going to do it our way, which is the way that I choose up here in this frame. So we're going to take our cylinder. We're going to duplicate it a few times. So I'm going to take our cylinder and duplicate it by just kind of dragging it off here. And I'm going to set the position. Okay. I want it right here too. And this one, we're going to raise upwards. So now we have the same cylinder, but raised upwards. I also want to scale that element. I'll just scale it before. It doesn't really matter. We'll do 0.8. And then all we have to do now is cut into our shape here. So I'm going to go ahead and lower this Z till it's like kind of cutting into our shape. Notice how now, let's do 0.9. Notice how now this is cutting in, right? So if we go to wireframe view, this cylinder on top is going to cut into our other cylinder. Hopefully you guys are following so far. Okay, awesome. We're going to take that and cut into our shape. But there's another thing we're going to do. We're going to have to do it to the other side as well. So these two things here, these scale elements and set position, I'm going to duplicate these. All right, set them up here. We're going to plug in the same mesh. We're going to join these together like this. But for this top one, we're going to do a negative value. So now we should have one on the bottom, one on the top. These are both going to cut into our main cylinder. Is everybody following along so far? I know it's kind of, it probably looks complex, but I promise you it's not. All right, now before we join everything back up together, I want to do a mesh boolean. And we're going to actually take the result here like that, and we're going to cut with our cylinders. And boom, we have an inset edge like that. And then we can decide how much that inset edge is here. Boom. I realize we don't need the scale elements twice. We can do like 0.95 like that. Now we have this inset edge. I know it's kind of hard to see, but it does look really good. I know it's kind of hard to see, but look here, if we zoom out this way, now you can see it a little bit better. Notice how we have the inset edge and we have the external parts of the coin. This is starting to look really good. Like, I'm pretty happy with this. Let's see if everything updates properly with our controls on the right. All right, I adjust my depth. Does that work? Wow, it does. It does work. It does. And the radius? Oh, it works. All right, another thing I want to do is the ridge count. We're going to want to be able to adjust that. And that ridge count is basically right here. This is the ridge count, right? So I'm going to allow the user to adjust these vertices, but we're gonna change the name because that doesn't make sense. I'm going to say ridge count, right? We want it to make sense to the user. And then we also want to adjust, I want to say we want to adjust the, yeah, let's do the thickness of the ridge as well, which is the radius of the instanced cylinders. So we'll call this ridge thickness. Boom. So now we should be able to adjust not only the ridge count, but the thickness of the ridges as well. Okay. And now we have a completely customizable coin, which is super awesome. I would love to have an edit polygon node so we can, whenever we want to go into the mesh and edit it. There is gizmos, which is kind of like what you're talking about right now. It's like kind of similar to that. Now, here's one cool thing too. If you look, this inner, like, see how these kind of stick inwards? To adjust that, we would adjust our scale right here. We would probably scale this down a little bit. So this right here is the scale of our inset, right? So I'm going to actually have the user adjust that too. Instead of calling it scale, though, I'm going to call it inset. Well, I'll just do inset scale. That makes sense. That makes sense to me, at least. All right. Things are looking pretty good. I kind of just want to go into rendered view real quick. I just want to see what this looks like. You see we have some clipping issues here. We should be able to adjust that. We're going to have to, we might have to do like a mesh boolean right here. And we'll do union with this and see if this works. This and this. Oh. But Blender didn't like that. Blender did not. Or we could have just stuck to what we had before and just been happy. Why couldn't we have just been happy? Why couldn't we have just been happy? Why did I make Blender do all this nonsense? I do want to see what manifold does. Oh, manifold's quick. Okay, we'll do manifold. All right, let's go ahead and add an environment texture in real quick. I just want to see what our procedural coin looks like. Okay, I just kind of want to see. It's looking pretty snazzy. Let's give it a material, eh? Give it metallic. We do have to set the material in geometry nodes. All right, cool. Coin's looking pretty good. Let's shade it smooth, eh? Oop. Let's not. Let's not shade it smooth. All right, let's see how things look when I adjust them in rendered view, eh? Let's go to film. Gotta put on the transparency here, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. All right, so let's see. Depth works fine. Radius works fine. Ridge count works great. Ridge thickness also works great. Inset works great as well. Let me just adjust this a little bit. This is looking really cool. All right, so I guess next we can add some text on here. Kenny, not to keep interrupting, but are there any projects you've done in animation or 3D modeling? If it's public, where can we find it? Sure thing. I will go ahead and add that for you here. There you go. So, yeah, so I have an Instagram. I have a YouTube as well. I also have a Gumroad. I have a Superhive account. I have a CG Cookie account. I have every account you could probably ever imagine that I could possibly obtain. I probably have one. I do have a TikTok too, but I don't really go on there as much. I kind of prefer Instagram when it comes to posting content. Also, you're not interrupting. You are part of our community. I want to hear your comments. I want to hear what you guys have to say, and I want to help you. I'm here to help you guys and teach you guys. Consider me your personal tutor. Well, you know, I do charge on the side for that, but that's a whole different thing. So consider me your personal tutor while I'm on live stream for free. All right. Once again, AI. Oh, once AI gets a lot more advanced, Blender didn't like that. We'll have a totally different meaning. Oh my gosh. The inner depth looks too much for me. Yep, and we can adjust that with... Oh, you know what? We didn't make that adjustable for the user. Let's go ahead and do that. And let me also... Let me join this in a new frame so I know what it does. This right here is going to be the inset. Perfect. That actually is part of the inset too. This is a union. Perfect. All right, so we want to be able to adjust the inset amount, which is basically these two right here. Here's where things get fun. We are going to use a math node. Gotta love math. People are like, I'll never use this in my life. But look at me using math right now. Look at it. Look at it. So yeah, let's let the user adjust this. So for the offset, so here's where this is where people are going to get overwhelmed if they're new to geometry nodes. So the offset has 3 values, X, Y, and Z. We need to specifically tell Blender which one of these we want to adjust. If I just plug this in here, it would work, but it would apply to all 3 values. We don't want that. We want to combine X, Y, Z into one vector. So this value, I'm just going to copy this so it doesn't change. I'm going to plug this in here. Oopsies. Did I plug that in correctly? Why isn't that working? Negative 0.04. That's weird. All right, anyway, if I plug it in, shouldn't change. Perfect. We only want to adjust this value right here. Now, I know that I want the user to be able to adjust both sides at the same time. So we're going to take the same value that we have. We're going to apply it to a positive number and then a negative number. And we're going to separate those into our set position nodes. Does that make sense? So I'm going to have this up here. I'm going to have another combined XYZ. I'm going to go ahead and click here. This one should be positive. So right now, if I do that, nothing good's going to happen. Once I get rid of the negative number, we're back to normal, right? And so because of that, I know that I want to have 2 of these that are both set to multiply. One is set to multiply by -1. One's set to multiply by 1. These 2 inputs right here, right, they're going to plug into the same thing, which is our offset that the user decides. So if I plug this in here and here, I can have our user decide what to offset it by. Why isn't it letting me adjust the value? Oh, because I didn't plug this into anything yet. Haha. There we go. So right now, value is 0.5. Let's try 0.02. Boom. Let's try 0.01. Does it happen to both sides? It does. How did that work on the first try? I don't know. But the reason it's working is because of all this like math here. Does that make sense, or am I going crazy? Well, it does make sense because it worked, but it may not look like it makes sense at first. Our main coin really should be over here, and this should be right here. So you can see that geometry nodes can start to get like a little bit more complex as you go. But at the end of the day, if you really break it down into like the simple steps, you can create some pretty cool things. I'm pretty happy with this so far. Also, this value needs a name. This will be the inner depth. Let's call it inner depth. I think maybe just a little bit more, like a smidge more. That looks good. Let's go ahead and take a look at that in rendered view. Whew, it's looking pretty good. Let's see. Let's adjust our roughness just a little bit. Oh, gorgeous, gorgeous. Now, let's take it a step further, shall we? Let me show you guys how you can create custom material slots. Can I get a yes, please, in the chat if you want to see that? Also, quick shout out to Mark for actually like pointing that out because that was a great idea. All right, let's add a sphere. Now, I like to do this because this is my style here. All right, so we have 2 spheres right next to each other. I'm going to apply one material here, shade that smooth. I'm going to make a new material, metallic, low roughness. I'm going to call this silver, and I'm going to call this one, you guessed it, gold. But wait, there's more. There's other elements too, right? Let's create a copper. Okay, we'll just do the same thing, low roughness. We'll make this kind of like a copper color. Perfect. All right, so we have our 3 materials. Here's where things get interesting because let's see if I remember how the heck to do this. So right here, you have an option to set a material. Now we can basically tell Blender to give us options. I believe you do material. Material selection. Yup. And then the selection would go into here. But hold on, let me see if I remember how to do this. Add material. Set material input. Material index. Replace material. Set material index. Oh. No, not node group. Group input. No, not group input. Hold on. Darn it, I've done this before. What is it? Group output. No. Hold on. Nope. Give me 1 second, guys, because my brain just froze. You have the material selection, and then the user can decide which one. Oh, is it selection? No, I had material selection. Hold on, I have this on my Mac. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry, guys. One second. Ah, there it is. Ah, okay, there it is. No, that's not what I want. Convert to mesh. Nope. Wow, no one covered this? What the heck? Select by material. Nope, that's not it. The inner. Yeah, I know. I did fix it. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. I'm just doing the research because I completely forget what node to use for this. There's a node basically that collects all of the inputs that you want to use. Oh, is it a switch? Oh, it's a menu. It's a menu. Menu. Now, I actually just remembered that. Proud of myself for remembering that. Menu switch. All right. So, let's see if this works here. Aha. Let's see if this works. I just remember. So, you have to select material. We want to have copper. We want gold and silver. So, we'll do gold, silver. So, our menu options are the following: copper, gold, and silver. Our output goes right here. But the user has to decide what they want to use. It'll default to A, but see where this menu option is here? This is where we connect it to our user input. Let's see if I did this correctly. Did I do it? Oh yeah, menu option, A, B, material. Okay, so we can actually adjust what this says too. If you go to node, right here, you can just say copper, what is it, gold, and silver. Perfect. So now our users can decide what they want. All right, so this is how it works right here. Does that make sense? So we have a menu switch. It switches between the things, and then the user can decide, do I want copper, do I want gold, or do I want silver? Boom. Oh, and then you can also name the menu too. You could call it, where the heck is the there we go, menu. I could just call this, I don't know, material. Boom. And also, you can adjust where this sits. Like you can bring it all the way to the top. Boom. Perfect. So you select the material, and then you type a coin, things like that. Pretty cool. All right. So we got that. Awesome. Just see something real quick. Perfect. Okay, everybody with me so far? Cool. We got the materials. I'm going to group these into a collection called materials. All right. Our coin is looking fantastic. So far we have the depth, right, which we can easily adjust. Although, well, now that I know that happens, if you adjust the depth too much, you lose the ridge. I have to fix that. Radius looks good. Ridge count looks really good. Could you make the ridge count 0? Oh, you could. All right, good to know. Ridge thickness. That's a matter of like preference right there. Why isn't it letting me adjust it? There we go. Inset scale. So you can inset it more or less. And then inner depth. That looks really good. I'm pretty happy with what we have so far. If you added random in there, it would pick from the 3 materials at random, mixing them up. Yes. If you added it, let's try it. So in this case, you would probably do, let me see. What I would do is a Boolean probability plugged into the selection. I have never in my life ever tried this. It's being weird, but it's kind of cool. But now you got me thinking, is there a way to, now that I'm looking at this, is there a way to like select the material based on the index like of the thing? Because then you could technically make the like the ridges on the coin, you can make them like a different color. This is where it would get really complex. It is completely possible, but this is where it gets really complex because then you're setting materials on things before like, yeah, no, this is I mean, this, we would really have to put on our blender hat for this one. Extruded donut shape on coin. Oh, in the middle there. And that's the other thing, like you have the set material, and this could just be for the coin. Let me just see. This is the inset. This is the edge ridges. See, like you could take this whole thing. Let me just delete this. You could take this whole thing, make it into a group, and then you could, here, actually, let me just show you, because I actually think this would make more sense. So we have a group. I'm just going to call this, I don't know. Let me rename it. Yeah, let's rename it to material selector. I want to see if this works. This should work. So right now we're selecting the material for everything. Let's try it just for the edge ridges. I just want to see if this works. Did it work? Oh, you know why it's not working? Because we're doing a Boolean. Hold on. Let me just, because I think it'll work if we do join geometry. I'm almost positive it will. Yep, it does. So right here, like we have, they chose copper. Let's do gold for the outer. Did that work? Gold. And then silver. Let's do copper. And then this one will be silver. Yep, so it does work. So you can actually adjust the other parts of the coin depending on like where you set the geometry. But if we wanted to, we could say, hey, you know what? I want to do that again, but I want to do that for the inner part. But in this case, we don't want to do that because we want to, hold on. This is where it gets complex because we're cutting things in here with a mesh Boolean. So let me just take a look. Don't want to cut that part. The original cylinder, let me just see something. I just want to see what happens if I apply material to the original cylinder. Ah, that's just the in part. Okay, so if that's just the inside, let me just see something. No, okay, I didn't think so. Or wait, let me think. Index. I just went into like hyperfixation mode, so give me 1 second. If the index is compared and equal to a certain selection, look. It's going through each one of these. We want it equal to 0 though. Or we want it equal to 0. Or do I really want to set the material right here? Give me 1 second. I promise you I will explain what I'm doing. I just want to see something. Nope. Okay, that's the inner. And the outer would be... So, why is it only applying to one side? That's weird. Equal to, less than... Nope. I want it equal to... I'm sorry. Let me check the comments real quick. Whose face goes on the coin? Melvin? I'm guessing if you add random... No, yeah. Yeah, we will put a shape in the middle. So right now I'm trying to do a selector here, though, for the outer, the external part. So for the inner part, we got that. That's right here. Right? We can do, we can duplicate this thing here, put that in there, plug that in here, and we can say, for instead of menu, we'll do inner color. Perfect. All right, so we got the inner color. Let's make it gold. And then for like the outer color, that would be this, but it's not working, so we'll come back to that. All right, so we have the inner color. Now the question is, how do we do the inverse of that, which would be, let me think, that's all the inside of that. The outside is going to be, oh, we're multiplying that. Hold up, we're combining. Yep, we're setting the position, scaling the elements. Those elements cut in, and then we're left with this after the mesh boolean. Join. Let me just see something here. Nope. That would be the whole thing. That wouldn't make sense. Delete that. Material selection, good. Okay. We might have to come back to this. Hold on. So we have the gold, we have the ridges. We're just missing the like external parts right here. This is interesting to watch you trying to work it out. Yeah, I know. And this is like a lot of people get frustrated with this part and they're like, I'm not staying for this. You guys don't have to. But like for me, like when I'm normally on Blender, like this is what I'm doing. Like I'm sitting here. Well, I'm not talking to myself unless I'm going crazy, but after a while, like I'm like, why wouldn't this be working? A lot of the times you can select where you want the material based on like the index of the like where things are. So I guess what I could do, I could technically set the material here. Let's set it up. I'm going to do that index thing I did again, but this time I'm going to do compare equal to 0. And that'll give us one part of it. Hold on. Or I'm sorry, that's after this. I'm sorry. This result. Yeah, okay. Now I want to see something. I just want to see if it comes back around. Does it come back around? Why won't it? That's so weird. It's like, it's only like accounting for like half of this shape. So strange. I wonder if it's because we're using float. Would it work with manifold? No, manifold's even stranger. Would it work with exact? Kind of scared. Nope. All right, we'll do back to float. That's fine. All right, so we know that I know that 0 is like this half section here for whatever reason. This is very strange. Problem solving is 90% of Blender. I know. He said the non-sexy part is the most essential part. I know. It really is. God, that's so funny. I'm trying to think of just really trying to think of why this wouldn't work. And I'm also trying to think, am I missing like something that's affecting why this is not working? Oh, it would be hold on. Wait. It would be the original. If this works, it's gonna blow my mind. Let's take the top of the cylinder and use that for the selection. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Why didn't I think of that before? Okay, so now I know why it's working. So that's the top of the cylinder, but we need to use the bottom. Oh my god, I forgot about the bottom sides. Oh my gosh, bro. Let's do an and selection. It's going to be a compare. Or not compare. It's, or? Is it or? Yeah, okay, or, but we want to use and. Okay, so we want the top and the bottom. We want both of those selections to be gold. Aha! I did it. Okay. Wait a second. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. That's not what I wanted. No. Wait. Wait, it was working before. Why is it working there, but it's not working? What? It was working so great before. Now I got myself thinking, what would happen if I selected side? Is that copper? Now, you know what I think? So here's my theory on why this is so complicated, or why I'm so stupid. The mesh boolean, we're combining like things together, and I think it messes everything up with like the selection we're getting, if that makes sense. Like the selection, so like the original cylinder has its own like index of all the faces, vertices, all that stuff, and we're messing that up. When we do a mesh boolean, everything changes, right? Like So I think that's why this is being so weird. I'm just curious what would happen if we did this. So like, okay, is that nothing happened? Like, let me just see. How about the top and the bottom should be copper? Should be gold. Nope. Let's try. No, it's not working. What? Or do I? Okay, now here's another thing I could do. I could go ahead and set the material of the entire. Hold on, I already did that. Okay, I could set the material of the cylinder, but this time let's do the selection of top, and that is the bottom. Oh, am I upside down? No, I'm not. I'm not upside down, but it thinks that the bottom of the cylinder is right here and that the top is. All right, now let's try my original idea, which is or, but we actually change it to and let's do the top. Oops, nope. Let's do the top and the bottom. I don't understand why that wouldn't work. Can someone please explain to me what does what does not and mean? What the heck does that mean? Not and? What? This is like for our really, really advanced Blender users. Somehow that worked, so I don't even care. So now I just want to see, now I'm just curious what would happen if I set the material. I just want to see. Okay, so that doesn't work, but that's okay, because at least we got like somewhere with that. Now, down here, we have the edge ridges. Those are the easiest because they're completely separate geometry. Everything else is complicated because, well, Blender hates me. So what the heck is not and? Does someone want to explain to me what in the heck is going on? And then I'm just gonna try something. I'm just curious. Is copper? No. Okay. So that's not it. I wonder what this would do. Here, let's do silver. I'm kind of trying things here. Bro. I know. I'm like, bro, this is not funny anymore. Set the material. I will do silver. Wait, why is it working now? No, I don't. No, I want it to be equal to. No, I want equal. No, I want compare. There we go. But I want it to be equal. I want this to be equal to. No, I want it to be an integer. And we're doing silver equal to 1. Okay, it's going on the inside rim. Okay, that's not working. Okay. I'm at a little bit of a loss. Like, I'm like, oh, let me really think about this. I wonder if, I'm just curious. Now I'm curious because I'm like, what happens if I set material to, what if I set the material to one of these? What would happen there? Of course, because that totally makes sense. All right. Yeah, this is getting embarrassing here. The rest of it. Now I'm wondering, like, can I do not equal to the other ones, and would that? Now I'm wondering. Let me see if I do silver here and I do the opposite of this, like not equal to the top and the bottom. Oh, okay, so we're getting somewhere here. No, we're not. What if we do subtract? I don't. Everyone's saying, "What are you doing?" I don't know. Nor, like, what? No, not. Or, no, and the opposite. No. That doesn't work either. Okay. Surely there's like a way to do this, right? Hold on, let me try one more thing. All right, we've spent entirely too much time on this, but this is looking really cool. So this is one of those things where, like, I'm sorry that we took so much time on it, but this is gonna drive me crazy. So I might have to come back to this. It's already getting like semi-complex, but I'm pretty happy with like kind of how far we got here. I would like to see like what this would look like if we were able to actually like apply our proper materials to it. There is technically a way. I guess I really shouldn't just give up. There is technically a way we could do this, but we'd have to kind of restructure the nodes. We would have to create a curved circle with a profile to it, and that would just be the ridge. We could do that. We could do that. I said I was gonna do geometry nodes. I promised myself. Okay. Let me just see, because our curved circle for our edge ridges is right here. So I technically could take that. I could take this mesh to curve, and then I could say curve to mesh. I just want to see something, and then I'll do a curve quadrilateral. And we'll just join this in. That was not what I wanted. Hold on. Why did that look so weird? No, that is not what I want. Curve to points. And then points to curves. Bro, what? Oh. It's because I see why. So, technically, we could take what I just made and we could set a material to that. And we could make that copper, or, you know, whatever we want to. It looks weird because I don't know why it works. It looks weird. It just does. Curve to points, blah, blah, blah. Scale it to 1. We would have to get rid. Oh my god, we'd have to restructure the whole thing. We could rebuild the whole thing, but that would take too long. But anyway, this is more or less how I would go about doing this. Oh. Boom. And it's done. It actually looks kind of cool, but that's not what we're going for. All right. I'm scrapping this. Does face direction affect it? Yes, it does. All right, give me another generator to build. We have, how much time do we have left? We have about 30 minutes left. 30 minutes, guys. Hey, I got 30 minutes left, just FYI. You all good up there? Wife is taking care of the baby right now. Gotta check in, make sure she's doing good. All right, let me think of a different type of generator that we can make that's not gonna drive me bazonkers. Any questions so far about anything we've learned about with geometry nodes? Are you guys having fun? Is everyone having fun? That is the most important thing I will ask. Good. Okay. All right. Good. That's a resounding yes. All right. Let me think. Let me look at my list. We went over images, topographic maps. We went over a coin generator. Wow, all the ideas that I wrote down we went over. What's next, guys? What is next for us here? We have 30 full minutes to create something cool here. What do you got for me? Challenge me, please. Well, don't challenge me too much, but, you know. Could you create a topic on CG Cookie's Discord channel so we can discuss and share our results there? That sounds like a really cool idea. I'll talk to Amber about that. That could be a really interesting thing. How do you create a never-ending terrain using nodes that vehicles can travel along constantly? All right, let's do it. Actually, I'm going to pull some ideas from I think, who did this? Was it Ducky3D? One of the big Blender guys on YouTube did this. I don't remember who it was. But we'll go ahead and just, we'll do it regardless. We'll add a grid. I keep wanting to type in plane. It kind of drives me crazy that they just didn't, they could have just added, like, they could have just called this plane. You know what? I'm going to do it. Ha! The plane node. Okay. Kind of explains why I can't find half the nodes I find in tutorials. I called it the plane node. What are you going to do? What are you going to do now? It's the plane node. I called it that. Anyway, that's really what it is. It's a stinking plane. Look at it. It's a plane. Okay, anyway, let's not get too crazy here. Let's set the position. We're going to do exactly what we did before with displacement. We are going to add, we'll just add a noise texture. Add it to my offset, but I only want to offset the Z, so we're going to combine X, Y, Z. And let's do 500 and 500. And then we already have something that looks, well, kind of like terrain. And we'll just go ahead and expand this a little bit. Okay, looking good. All right, so we have our terrain generator. Now, how to make this like more interesting? Well, there's a lot we can do. First of all, we can do 4D, so we can like adjust it like this, which is really fun. Okay. Another thing we can do is we can adjust the roughness here, the distortion, right? Which is another fun one. And the detail, ultimately the detail level is really the most important. Now, I believe we can do a vector here. Wait, why is that not working? Oh, sorry. I believe we can, should be a way to translate it. I forget, how do I translate it? Vector translate? No, vector, vector math. Let's do vector math. I just want to see something. It's weird. It's like not working. It's not working the way I expected it to work. Sorry. Discord is an Adrian question. Can I can ask him. Okay. All right, so we're making this never-ending terrain. So if we want to do it procedurally, we have to do it this way with a noise texture. I know a lot of people like they're not all about the noise texture, and that's totally fine. But one thing I will say is that we do want to use a vector scale node, because we can scale this a little bit further. Now, if you're not like okay with like the way that this is looking, one of the things we can do is, I believe we can just add more vertices here. We can add more detail. Adjust the scale of this a little bit. There we go. This is more or less like how I would generate like a terrain. Now, if you really want it to be like super hyper realistic, I think you can plug a noise texture into a noise texture. Let me just try it. Where's our detail? Oh, whoa. Not gonna lie, that's not what I expected, but that looks really, really interesting. Let me just see something. I didn't expect that to look like that, but that looks really, really cool. That could work. Obviously, the more the more we have in terms of the scale here is better, I guess. Why does that look so weird, though? We need more distortion here. Something weird happened there when I did the detail. Whoa! That's another thing we could do. It's like, it's almost like you're adding, here, hold on. It's almost like you're adding detail onto the detail. That's interesting. I guess it really depends on what type of like landscape you want to generate. I will say that this does look pretty cool. And I feel like you could play around with this and get a really, really interesting and dynamic result. Another thing you can do, and don't forget this, is you can always go over here, merge by distance. I don't always suggest doing this because I feel like it's a really slow node. But you can merge these things. But then you get really crappy little render there. So I'm not going to do that. You can smooth this out by doing shade smooth, of course. That already looks better. And then, yeah, you could go and you could add some lighting in here, or you could add like an environment texture. Let's see. Let's add. I really like this one here. So this is a cool one. Wow, it already looks cool. And then you could just add like, I don't know, just like a material. Oh, set material. There we go. I don't know, just like a kind of dark kind of color. I don't know. It's like a high roughness. And also you could probably add something underneath it, or you can really scale. I don't know. You can scale this thing 10 by 10 if you wanted to. That's kind of how you would like maybe create something like this. And then I would probably go in here and adjust like a lot of things. Like I probably would make a material. Actually, we can apply a material. I can't guarantee it's going to look like absolutely amazing, but we can definitely try it out. Let's go ahead and go into rendered view, into the shader editor. I'm just going to add an image texture and see if we can just make it look kind of cool, or at least like more interesting and realistic. I'm going to go really far back and try to find some of these rock textures that I've used. Gosh, I have so many things on here. You know what's funny? And I realized this about myself. My wife says this too. She's like, "Why are you scrolling so fast?" And she's like, "There's no way you're reading all that." And I'm like, not to brag, but I really am. Like I'm very quickly, like I can look through here, and if I see something that I'm like, "Oh, that's the texture I want," I can be like, "Oh, that's it right there," right? And I can stop and I can know what I'm looking at. Like I knew this was a texture, but that's not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for more of like a rocky kind of like texture. But people always like, stop scrolling so fast, and I'm like, I can't. Like this is my natural scrolling speed. I don't know. Like there's absolutely no way that you've analyzed all these pictures, and I'm like, no, but I have, right? It's like a subtle brag, but it's also like drives people crazy, and I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, let me scroll very slowly for you. All right, here we go. Here we go. Can't find anything. I might have to go online. I was really hoping to find something in here. There's a few that are kind of close to what I'm kind of looking for something like that, but more like earthy. I am curious, like what some of these would look like though on here. Like I'm just curious, like what would this look like on here? Where the heck is my? Where's my object? What? Oh, there it is. Did anybody else just freak out? Like, where did everything go? Hold on. I want to try. Here, this one could be cool. Well, that one's kind of nice. Let me just add a texture coordinate. Does anyone ever like go back into Blender and they're like, where is everything? Like, what did I mess up that changed this? I'm gonna put a value on the scale here. It's kind of interesting. Now, obviously, this is not like at a high level of detail, but this makes me curious though. Like, can we go in here, increase this to like, all right, and then go in here and be like detail 5. Whoa. Scale maybe 1. Interesting. It's not now. This isn't necessarily like what I would suggest, right? But it is cool. And like the other part of this is you can displace this before you displace it, right? So like you could add a set position before this right here, and you could displace it with something completely different. Like, okay, let's do this. Let's do this because you guys wanted it. Here we go. You add a set position here, right? You do the exact same thing we did before. However, you're going to use an image texture before. Image texture. And we'll plug it into the Z. And we'll use the you guys remember the topographical map we had earlier? Let's plug that in. Okay. This might freeze up Blender, so let me just do 500 by 500 real quick. Offset. And then why is this being so weird? There we go. All right, let's try something different. Hold on, that one's not going to work. Let's try this one. See how we can offset it before we offset it? This didn't do what I wanted it to do. Let me try extend. There we go. All right, that is working the way I wanted it to now. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to grab the other one, which is this one. Perfect. Kind of. Hold on, let me try clip. There we go. Wow, it's really not doing what I wanted it to do. That's really embarrassing. All right, either way, that would work. If it did work, that would have been cool. All right, we'll go back to 1500. Again, you can probably, honestly, my computer can handle this. Let me just save this real quick. I'm going to go back up to 2000. That's a stupid level of detail. Let's set up a camera. Where's our camera at? Hold on. Let me just do this. I don't know if you guys are like this, but I like to reset the camera completely before I do anything. And then I like to like rotate it up manually. Boom. Perfect. Now let's frame it up real nice. We could create, what we could create here that would be really, really interesting? What would be really interesting is if we created like a, I don't know, like one of those like small little orthographic like a macro render of this would be really, really interesting to me. There we go. Also, we could enable depth of field here and get really crazy with it. Like this obviously, like this would technically be a larger scale, but it's really not. We could like fake the depth of field by like, I don't know, doing like just see something here. Go into solid view. We'll enable depth of field right here. So you could do something like ridiculous like this, right? And then you could just be like, right? You don't have to do this. Obviously, this is ridiculous. But what's really cool is now you have this like really interesting looking render. And then you can come in here and you can swap out this texture. Let's look up real quick. Rock texture. Ooh, some cool ones on here. I like this one. Let's save that. Let's go into shading. Pop into camera view here. And there it is. Oh, I don't love it, but interesting. It's a little too repetitive, but that's because this is obviously like not how you should do texturing, but I kind of like, I don't know, I enjoy this stuff because it's just like quick and simple. Like it's like a quick little solution to like what we're trying to do. This is an interesting one. Let's try this one. I don't know, like popping images in there and seeing what happens. This also allows us to like explore ideas like very, very quickly. See, like that's really interesting to me. Another thing we could do, again, like we don't have to do this, but look, we have this nice like orthographic camera view. So cool. I wonder how far we could take this, like this displacement. Hold on. Because right now we're at, what are we at? 2000. Dare we try something different? Let's try 3000. I'm gonna save it. Blender might crash, but let's try it. Blender's not giving me a hard time at all right now. Let me just bump this detail up to 10. Blender's not giving me a hard time. I have a freaking beast of a graphics card in my computer right now. Absolute goated graphics card. Let me tilt this up a little bit. Let me bring this down. Now, what I love about this too is that now, and I don't love this rock texture, but now we can like adjust the HDRI. We can have some different lighting, which is really cool. Let me see. I want to go back to this one real quick. Just want to see. Pretty cool. Also, probably wondering, well, Kenny, can we add trees to this? Like, yeah, you can. You can add trees. Like, you could add like small little trees here and there. This is not supposed to be at this scale. Like this scale, you would never have this kind of depth of field at this scale, obviously. Like if you were a photographer, all of this would be visible, right? Like this, you wouldn't even have any depth of field at all. It would all be visible like this, right? But that's not what we're doing. We're just making like a fun render. So this is what we're doing. Just so awesome. What time is it? All right, we got about 10 minutes left, guys. One thing I'll mention here, just go ahead and solid view real quick. With this kind of like level of displacement, yes, you do need a really nice graphics card, right? Like you're not going to be able to obtain this on like a crappy computer. I hate to tell you that, but it's just the truth. Especially like look at this level of detail that we're getting, right? Now, right here, what you could do is you could drag this off and say, or you could say merge by distance, right? Let me just do this real quick. You can say merge by distance, I don't know, 0.1, 0.2, right? And then you could say mesh to points. And let's see if those points pop up, which they should soon. Although Blender's also like, there it is. Blender's been waiting for this moment. Blender's been like, you've pushed me too far. I tried to tell you. I tried to tell you. Oh my god, bro. You know, I kind of did this to myself because I said I had such a beast of a graphics card, and then my graphics card was like, you know what, dude? Like, I don't need this. I don't need this job. Darn it. Okay. Guys, I didn't want to have to do this, but I'm going to have to Control Shift Escape. No, Blender. Rip. All right, let's go back. Anyway, what I was going to show you is that we could instance points to like put little trees on there, but man, obviously Blender didn't really like that, so maybe we just stick with what we have here and answer some questions. What questions do you guys have for me? Let's talk real quick. Let's talk for like the last 10 minutes. I'll just be on here blending around, maybe adding some new textures. But while I'm doing this, while I'm working here, talk to me. Like, what projects are you guys working on? What do you want to see in the next live stream? And also, are you guys enjoying these polls? Like, do they help you like decide what you want to learn next? And are you happy with the result ultimately? Because I want you guys to be happy with what you're learning about in Blender, especially because I know you're taking time out of your day to do this and watch this live stream. I want you to get the most value that you possibly can out of this. Adrian has added Blender No Dojo to the CG Discord. Woohoo! Hey, all CG Cookie, thank you for the huge amount of knowledge you have imparted in me. Yes, of course. Yeah, this is like, and this is kind of like where I began to like a lot of CG Cookies tutorials, their membership on their website. There's just so much that I've learned that I'm happy to be able to give back to, because a lot of my knowledge comes from CG Cookie, comes from YouTube. It comes from just like self-experimentation on here in Blender. I don't know. There's so many good things I could say about Blender, but CG Cookie is a great community, so highly suggest you guys check it out. Obviously, you know about it because you're either subscribed to the YouTube channel or somehow you scrolled past this video. Oh, that's really interesting. Huh. That's really cool. Really cool styled ring. Maybe we'll make a ring on the next live stream. Ooh, procedural ring generator, huh? That one should be not too difficult, right? Can make that right now in about 2 seconds. What's that? I should make a procedural ring generator real quick. Okay. Done. All right. I'm just happy to learn anything to do with Blender. Yeah, I would second that. So I'm really thinking, guys, real simple here. I'm just gonna add a cube. New geometry node setup. Cylinder is what I would probably start with here. Now, I think I'm just going to do the same thing I did before, right? Scale elements. Oh, you know what? I'm also going to need to, not scale elements, transform geometry first. You know, to me, tell me if you guys feel this way, but to me, having transform geometry and scale elements is so interesting. Like, because they're so similar, but they're also not. Like with scale elements, you obviously are scaling a face or an edge, but like I don't know, you would think you would just use transform geometry. Anyway, let's do join geometry right here. All right, because I just want to be able to see like what I'm working with here. Now for this one, I want to scale it on the Z. Oh, that's rotation. Where we go? Scale. There we go. I want to scale it on the Z, but I want to scale it down 0.9 and 0.9 here. So I want to punch a hole through the ring, right? In order to do that, and yes, I just hurt my knuckles doing that. In order to do that, I'm first going to adjust my depth a little bit, and I just kind of want to punch a hole through the ring. That's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to use a mesh boolean right here, and the difference being that, and boom. And there you go. There's a procedural ring generator, just like that. In fact, I don't even need this. I just need that. Boom. And then if you want to adjust the, that's the height. If you want to adjust the like thickness, you would adjust these two, or you could do a combine X, Y, Z. 2. I'll just plug in a value to the X and the Y. Whatever value you want, you plug in here. Just be careful when you get to the end because you kind of start to get this weird like glitchy thing. And that's the thickness of the ring right there. Now I am curious, subdivisions. I'm just curious what this would look like if you did this. Ooh. Oh my gosh, that looks absolutely atrocious. Oh god. That's not gonna happen. I wonder if you did subdivide. I wonder if you did subdivide mesh first. What is happening? Why is it being so weird? How to use procedural modeling to create an array for items like curved roller conveyors. Ah, that is something that you could definitely do. That is something you could definitely do. For something like that, you would probably want to add curves. You said a procedural roller conveyor. Yeah, I could see how you could. I'm thinking it through on how you would do that. I think I have an idea. CG Cookie keeps popping up every time I'm stuck at something. No, I'm struggling with text to curves. The font overlaps. I think I need to separate the characters and then merge them after extrusion. Are they sticking together like sideways? Like these are the characters, but they're too close to each other? This is a cool one. I'm happy with this one. Oh, and this is basically the resolution of your. Whoa! Look. Ooh, very cool. This is the resolution of your ring right here. Very cool. I love that. Like the fact that this is like procedural is so much fun. You got your procedural ring generator. Zoop, and then you could hook it up to your group input here if you want people to adjust the radius and the depth. You do that right here. And boom, now I can adjust the radius, the depth, and then if I really wanted to, I could adjust these two values, which are going to be the middle, the hole in the middle, like that. Boom. Look at that. Now I have a procedural ring generator. Zoop, 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 zoop. Boom. Done. Here's your nodes, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Boom. Done. Done. Don't even need that. And that, it only took, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. It only took 4 nodes to make a procedural ring generator. That is the power of geometry nodes. Amazing. Hand lettering so it intersects the overlap, making holes in the text. Oh, you don't want it to have holes in the text, you're saying. Have you tried, are you using the mesh boolean type manifold? Have you tried that? That might be an option. Or like you could add a remesh modifier after. Might be solved by making an SVG first, but I want a modular pipeline. I'm assuming you're just talking about text, like, and you're extruding the text in geometry nodes. Like, let me just go ahead and do this. All right, so you're talking about like text, string. Or no, what is it? String to curves, right? Yeah, string to curves, right? Boom. Okay, I'll just say Kenny. And then you're doing what? Curve to mesh like this. And then you're doing, are you using a, what curve profile are you using? Quadrilateral? Okay. Are you doing something kind of like this? Is that sort of what you're doing, more or less? Why is it like... That's weird. Are you doing curved, or are you doing curve to mesh with something different? Text to curves, extrude it and bevel it. Oh, you're extruding the curve and then you're beveling it? This is one, I feel like this is one way I would do it, but it's weird because it's doing like the outline. Is it possible to this is the character spacing, so I don't know if that helps. Size of the text. I'm wondering how can we like solve this for you though? See, like you could do this right here, and then you could do like merge by distance, right? Or not. And that's it. And it just looks amazing, right? That's not what you want right there. I do wonder if you could just like do this and then hold on, curve instances, and you did extrude like that. But you did, but first you did curve to mesh, yes. And then what profile did you use for curves? Curve primitives. I wonder what a curve line. I'm just curious what this would look like. Looks good. Oh my god. It looks absolutely atrocious. I'll head to the computer and I'll share if that's okay. Yeah, go ahead. We do have to make it quick because I actually have to go, but I will try my best to help you as quickly as possible. It's been 2 hours. Yeah, it's been 2 hours, so I'm actually gonna be signing off here, guys. Hey, the philosopher Phoenix. What does that say? Phil Oso Phoenix. I think I got it. Phil Oso Phoenix. Very cool. If you could do me a favor, message me on either Discord or like Instagram or anything. I promise I will help you out. But unfortunately, guys, I do have to go at this time. I had a fantastic live stream with you guys. I feel like we did so much fun stuff in geometry nodes, and we're going to do so many more fun things in the future. In the meantime, have a great day. Make sure you're subscribed. Check out the Superhive. Check out all our products on Superhive. Also check out CG Cookie Core Fundamentals of Physics, as well as like the Core Fundamentals of Blender. And then check out your Sessions courses, as well as that Geometry Nodes course, the B-City course, because that one was a fun one too. Overall, I had so much fun with you guys. I promise I will look into that. Any issues that you have, just make sure you drop a comment. And yeah, have a great